All righty, time for us to check in with Tom Mulcair, former leader of the NDP, and of course, CJAD 800 commentator on the line right now. Our feature brought to you by the folks at Guaranteed Industries, reminding you can get yourself a can or heat pump. Plenty of time for the cold weather to arrive, and you do it by calling Guaranteed at 514-342-3400 or going online to guaranteedindustries.com. Tom, before we get into it, I should let you know, I'm doing this T-shirt fundraiser. Someone, I'm just told, bought one of the T-shirts, and that person is Doug Ford.
Woo.
Wrong Doug Ford. I checked. He lives somewhere in the city, though, but I thought that was really interesting. So thank you, whoever put that in there. Cool. Thank you, Doug Ford. Which brings me to the first story that I want to bring up, Tom. We just heard on the news that today Donald Trump said that Mark Carney apologized for Doug Ford. Are you buying this? Is this good cop, bad cop? What's going on here?
Well, I have a feeling that Carney was just classy with Trump, because Carney's a classy guy. Whether he actually said, I apologize, or he said, very sorry that this happened, it's slightly different. I mean, basically, if you're sorry that it happened, means it's not something that should have interrupted the ongoing negotiations, which are far more important than Doug Ford's ego. The other thing is, we've already talked about this, but essentially everybody's saying, Doug Ford was right. He was right, because he didn't misstate anything that Ronald Reagan had said in that famous 1987 speech. But what we were doing is the type of thing we had a Royal Commission of Inquiry about. We didn't want foreign interference in our politics, but we're sticking our nose in theirs. And I think that there's something to be said for the reaction of the Americans to that. If somebody were running ads here attacking Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney or François Legault, but from another country, I don't know what our reaction would be.
Right. Fair enough. That's kind of what I said as well. If the shoe were on the other foot, what would we be doing now?
Exactly.
Okay, let me talk about the other thing that's really blowing up here, and that, of course, is Bill 2, this new bill which goes against doctors in Quebec. We heard today from the Collège des Médecins there are now over 300 doctors who are either in the process of or have already applied to go practice elsewhere. We found out today that med students at 4 universities are going to go out on strike, assuming that's okay or allowed in this new bill. This is one of those, he's bit off way more than he can chew in this case, I think, right?
You're referring, of course, to Premier Legault, and I don't think he's lucid right now. I don't think he's playing with a full deck. I watched the way he reacts to things, his body language. His press conference with Lionel Carmont yesterday was, on a human level, quite moving. But he's giving a bear hug to a guy who's saying, I have to quit cabinet and quit your government and quit our party, because Carmont helped found the CAQ, because you're bonkers. You're destroying the medical system, you're destroying the health system, and you're attacking doctors who are now leaving the province. And by the way, these are not the worst doctors of the province. They're the top doctors of the province who are being recruited in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Ontario. And it's shameful.
Well, Tom, given the fallout then, do you see a possibility of the government now, because remember, the medical specialists are challenging this, they want to stay. Do you see the government at some point backing away from this?
Well, the College of Physicians had painted itself into a corner. They started lecturing the doctors who were pushing back, the two federations, the specialists and the GPs. And now, all of a sudden, after having a big fight over that, because there was even, a motion of censure against the president of the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Quebec, all of a sudden they wake up and they say, well, this is terrible. It's awful. Hit pause, which is a nice thing to say. And it could have proved, and if it had been negotiated, there's a guy named Yves Boisvert in La Presse newspaper today saying, hit pause. This is crazy. We all know it's crazy. It's destroying the health system even more. And just stop it. And you don't have to humiliate yourself and go back to the House and repeal the legislation. Just say you're going to delay for 1 year the coming into force. After a next election, then you could claim a mandate and we'll deal with it. But Legault is digging in, and that's where I say he's not playing with a full deck. It doesn't make any sense what he's doing. And so he's exhausted. He's just, going on fumes, and he's just slugging away. And he gives a big hug to somebody who's quitting and telling him that he's completely bonkers, what he's doing to the health system, but he says he's going to keep doing it. So he's picking fights. We watched it for years. He picked fights with religious minorities. He picked fights with the Anglos. He picked fights with the doctors. Now they just tabled new legislation. It's 1, 2, 3. 1 was the Quebec Constitution. 2 was the docs. 3 is going to be, let's have a knockdown, drag-out fight with the unions. And so he's just picking fights, and he thinks that that's going to boost his popularity. It's anything but. People just want to see the guy gone.
By the way, over and above the doctors and the medical students, there were also picketers out front today in the National Assembly over PACCAR, right? The job cuts that are coming there. That and the fact that, of course, as we found out once they announced these first round of layoffs, or the most recent round of layoffs, is the fact that the Quebec government is actually buying heavy-duty or medium-duty trucks from the U.S. instead of buying them from here as well. So I'm sure they're pretty upset about that as well.
Yeah, that really goes over well. I mean, the Americans have had Buy America programs and plans for years, but we don't have the brains to do the same thing and say, well, we're going to buy stuff that's made here. And when you have this rule of the lowest conforming bidder, you always wind up with junk, and it has to be replaced much faster. Oh, we need a new communication system for the police. Right. And so you're going to buy the worst one because it's the cheapest one, and then you're going to say it doesn't work, and you're going to have to buy something decent, so you'll pay twice. This is the Quebec procurement system that we've had for years.
Tom, I want to talk about one other thing here, which is the transit strike. I've spent a lot of time talking about this, hearing from listeners today. It's gone from bad to worse. First, it was going to be the maintenance strike, which was only going to provide rush hour service. And then today we find out the drivers, because they're walking out, although they have only specific dates. One of them happens to be tomorrow. There will be zero bus service here. And I think the thing that really upset people is hearing from the tribunal that was going to decide if this was legal or not, that said, no, they can walk out tomorrow. There'll be no bus service or metro service tomorrow because it's not a threat to public health or well-being.
Right. What deep empathy for the public, many of whom don't own automobiles. And, we're always going to go to worst cases. We're going to say, well, what if somebody's got a health crisis or something? But let's look at some everyday stuff. There's a football semifinal at Molson Stadium. That's tens of thousands of people trying to get to the stadium, and there's no way to get there. So you can just imagine how much fun it's going to be to try to get to or get around or park in downtown Montreal. And then, of course, there's a Habs game tomorrow night as well. So I don't know what planet this tribunal lives on. I'd be willing to bet a coffee that most of them are living in Quebec City and they don't care.
Yeah. A lot of people are looking, here we go, third time there's been a maintenance strike. Who knows, there's another one coming if nothing gets settled. Does something need to change here? And if so, what?
Yeah, there's something called an election on Sunday, and it's an excellent opportunity to send a message that the orange cones and the people that have bought us repetitive strikes should be replaced by somebody else. And I'll let voters come to their own conclusions, but there are a lot of parties on offer other than Valérie Plante's Projet Montréal. But if you think Valérie Plante and therefore Luc Laboine did a great job, then by all means, vote for them again. But I don't sense too many people want to see that party in power for very long. Today, Laboine out there saying, this is unacceptable. What do you mean it's unacceptable? You were part of the administration that brought this upon Montrealers for the past 8 years,
By the way, people pointed out this is true, right? We pay for this on our taxes. You pay for it on your license and registration.
Absolutely.
And the other part of this story was, and I think our producer brought it up, I buy a Metro pass or a bus pass. I don't have service, yet they're not going to give me back money or refund part of what I paid, despite the fact I couldn't use what I bought. I think that part has people pretty upset as well.
With good reason.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally adding insult to injury.
Yeah, I just one last thing. I know we got to go. Really quickly, so we heard Mark Carney today. He started off with negotiations with China. He met Xi Jinping. Today's in South Korea for the APEC summit. Are you encouraged by what you saw with respect to China and whatever might happen between these two countries, us and them?
We've got to stop putting all our eggs in one basket with the Americans. We went into lockstep with them to keep out Chinese electric vehicles that you could have been buying for like $35,000. It's because the Americans said they didn't want them in because there's too much government involved. Whatever the excuse was. So we went along with that. So we get punched in the nose by the Chinese government. They say, okay, your canola and other agricultural products, we don't want them. And it's billions of dollars of losses for our farmers out west mostly. And so at least Carney's warming up the relationship. He had a 40-minute meeting with President Xi yesterday, and he's on his way to China soon because they're organizing an official state visit. That's an important one, because Carney's whole purpose now is to say, okay, we can't continue this with the Americans. That relationship is never going to be the same. It's gone by the wayside. We've got to find new partners, and apparently China's going to be one of them.
By the way, with respect to EVs, I don't know if you saw this story, right? While we're all very concerned about the auto industry in this country and closures and moving to the U.S., GM laid off 3,300 workers this week at its EV and battery plant where? In Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee.
Yep.
So for all the good this is doing the U.S. in terms of moving, manufacturing there, certainly when it comes to EV, I guess the appetite for these cars is not what we thought it would be. And there go 3,300 jobs out the window.
No, but everybody's understood since the beginning, if you want to do this transition to electric vehicles, you have to have, we had in place subsidies for a while.
Right.
We removed them, but you have to have the buildup of the charging stations. Trump has actually been removing charging stations, and he's removed any incentive and he's removed any obligation to move your fleet towards electric vehicles or a certain proportion of them. So obviously it's having an effect. People just say, oh, I can get a gas car for cheaper. I'm not even going to think about it.
We'll leave it at that. Tom, I will let you go after you tell me who you think wins the Game 6 tonight.
Oh, I think the Jays have it. Go Jays. Just absolutely.
Okay.
I just spent the week in Ontario, though. Maybe I've been...
Oh, okay. Because, there's nothing more exciting, Tom, than a Game 7 in the World Series.
Yeah, I'll take a Game 6
Fine.
and the rings. Thanks.
Fine.
Take care. The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.